the transmission now before we look at distribution. If we have, pockets of these power generation companies in some localities, maybe even in an estate, you have a little one that can actually generate to serve that particular estate. How do you now go about transmission?
So what happens is this. Imagine you are creating a web. What you have today, they're your main trunks. They're your highways. Big stuff. Good. If they work, it's fantastic. And we pray they succeed. Because these gencos have put in a lot of money. They have to succeed. So you build the highway. You now build meshes within the highway. That's what's going on. These are meshes, and that's what creates the redundancy for you. It's like a net. And the fact that you have failure in a mesh at a particular location will not bring the whole system down. So you actually do new cabling now. You create a lot of jobs. We estimate that every 1 megawatt plant you build, you employ about 132 people. So if you are to do 50 megawatts in every local government area of Nigeria, you create about 5 million jobs. So, yeah,
I'm listening to the testimony. I'm just wondering, though, I mean, has that solved the power problem in Ondo State?
With the project with these are just pilots. What I'm telling you is that it showed us that you can bring Nigerians in, give them a technology bootcamp, and release them. And that has to be the mandate going forward.
So we don't have to wait to go and get people from who knows where. Exactly. They come in here, begin to bundle.
Exactly. For us to solve the power problem, we must have indigenous solution.
Tell us about coal. How can we use coal if they wanted to? Because there are regions that we also have coal in this country.
My thinking is that we look at a multiplicity of solutions. Whatever you can use, you use. The other renewable sources we have. For example, I'll give you an example. If you were to cover 1% of our land space with solar, you generate 40 times more power than we need today. So there are some clean sources that are easily available to us. The other thing I want to talk about, which I don't want to forget, we have problems in the housing sector. Today, we need about 17 million housing systems to meet the current needs. If each of the new housing you build in this country, you integrate a 10 kilowatts power to it, you will generate 170,000 megawatts. So you can imagine embarking on an ambitious housing development program in every local government area. You create private companies, developers, to support building a housing, and every house you build, you integrate power into it. You make it a condition. What you will get will be magical for the whole country. So the thing I'm saying is that we have to rethink the way we are doing things.
So it will take pressure off the grids that currently exist.
Exactly. And what will happen is that you'll be able to move quickly. For example, we can, if we do 10 megawatts in every local government area, you can finish that in 6 months. The power electronics, the solar panels you need, they're available today. And you do it in parallel. So as you are doing in this local government area, you are doing it all over, and you are engaging your people in the development.
You know, you haven't touched on the one other area which you mentioned. I'm trying to remind you on that. The renewable energy, you said, is another area that you can actually use in solving some of this problem.
Yeah, so, I was saying that you have to be able to source your fuel locally.
Good.
So if it's natural gas, that's fine. If you have it locally, you don't have to pipe through tons of kilometers. Of course, the big power plants will need that, so no problems with it. Biogas, I can get from waste to energy locally. Solar, the fuel, is local. Wind, the fuel is local. Hydro, the fuel is local. Those are all renewable energy sources. So I will promote those, and I will look at multiplicity of sources so that you don't rely just on one source. The other thing that's very important, which we have not thought through in this country, is storage. You must store your power. It's like having a bank to save your money in. Today there are people who have a generator. Sometimes they just have a few lights on, and they're still running the generator. They're wasting so much energy. So one of the things the Americans are doing with community energy storage is that they are buying these huge storage systems to go into communities. And there are some of these batteries, I have them in this book, 40-foot container. And they can supply the energy needs for up to 5,000 people.
How long?
For, you keep renewing them, you connect them to your power sources, whether it's the grid power or the renewable, whether it's solar or wind or hydro. So it's like having a savings bank there. So you're generating, you are storing, and everybody is taking from that. So you size the storage to fit the needs of the community.
In other words, much as we've got largely thermal plants in the country, then hydro, we could then make use of these renewable ones, solar, wind, even coal.
Hydro, tidal, and all that.
In different
coal
areas.
is a fossil fuel. I think if there's it's an economic reason to have it, I'll go for it. Well, we have not even touched the others.
They sound so easy to do.
To me, the
But we're not
solution,
doing it.
But I think it requires new thinking. You see, because if you are repeating the same thing and you think you are going to get a different result, it's not going to happen.
The good thing about it is, I mean, you said these pilots have been done.
Yes.
In those states.
Yes.
So different states can also look at that
As
pilot
a model, yes.
and see what they can do with that model.
Exactly. And I think you want the private sector to be very involved. You want people to be able to have a stake.
Are they really, they're involved in this one, are they? The private sector?
Well, that's what we are trying to promote. There's a need to create this network of small and medium enterprises, focus on power, train people, and some of the things that's very important, for example, maintenance. We don't have a maintenance culture in this country. We must maintain what we are building. If you have 100 million naira for a project, you want to keep 50% of that for maintenance. Save it for years to come. Because it's important. I saw on your station yesterday the stadium, the status of the stadium. We don't maintain things. We must maintain. And the final thing I want to talk about is energy efficiency. If our buildings are built correctly, and they're well insulated, and we use LED bulbs instead of incandescent, our energy usage can drop to 1/4 of what they are today. That is an area as a country we also need to encourage.
And then add to that, if as the staggering statistics that people are responding to it, that they don't believe Nigeria spends 450 billion every month, and then they ask, these companies, I mean, the big question on their corporate social responsibility. So if they were to invest in energy, for instance, you can imagine how far that can go for different states.
Yeah, well, it's people can check it. Is it came out from somebody, a stakeholder in the industry. In fact, it's one of the board members of one of the major telcos. He said they spend 450 billion naira. They are the one collecting the money.
So you can imagine if that were to multiply that by 12, that's a year.
Exactly.
And how much money is available
exactly
in the country.
It's available to them. It also shows the Nigerians are willing to pay. So if Nigerians know that you can solve the power problem, because they are paying for telephone because they can use the telephone, they can communicate.
And that is why you want locals to be involved in
this. Exactly. So we benefit from this. This is not a situation of allowing companies to come in, cut away millions of dollars. I'll be very happy if where I'm living, I'm an investor in the power company.
You have a stake.
I have a stake in it.
You want it to succeed.
And by the way, that's one of the major challenges the telcos have. People steal their generators. They lose thousands of generators every year, the telcos. If you can create local power companies, number one, if I can create a local power company, I can sign a power purchase agreement with the telco, because they spend 60% of their operating costs on power. So if you can supply power to them, you also be able to supply power to the neighboring community. It's the way to go.
And listen to
Very
Segun
interesting.
Adaju here. He says it is possible. I mean, quite a number of people are saying that what you're saying is actually quite possible in Nigeria.
This is it. Thank you very much indeed for coming this morning. Professor Olu Lafe, Professor of Engineering, Chairman, CEO of Midatco Group, is an inventor and an author of the book, Abolitionism. I had to wait to ask you about that, but it's also an interesting book. I think they should get it and read it. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
We're back after this. Join us again.